On the morning of February 22, 2026, a pre-dawn military raid in the quiet highland town of Tapalpa, Jalisco, ended the life of one of the world's most wanted individuals. Security forces tracked Nemesio Rubén Oseguera Cervantes, known as Mencho, to a property in the mountain town after receiving intelligence from a close associate. Troops carried out the operation, which led to hours of intense gunfire. Soldiers later found a wounded Mencho with two bodyguards, and he was airlifted to a medical facility but passed away during the flight. His real name was Nemesio Rubén Oseguera Cervantes. For more than a decade, his alias, El Mencho, had spread fear throughout Mexico and into the United States with a reputation that matched the legend of El Chapo. Once a police officer, he rose to become one of the planet's most sought-after fugitives, with the United States offering a $15 million reward for information leading to his capture. His passing marked more than the end of one person's life. It closed a chapter in one of the most remarkable criminal stories of our time, a journey from deep rural poverty to the top of a massive global drug network. Understanding El Mencho helps explain how conditions in parts of Mexico can lead to the rise of such figures, and how challenges in law enforcement, government, and economic inequality can turn someone into a leader of organized violence. This account explores his background, his path, and what may come next. Born into hardship in Michoacán, El Mencho grew avocados and left primary school early before heading north to enter the United States without documents. That brief summary reveals a larger pattern affecting many young people in rural Mexico, where limited options often steer them toward illegal activities, not always by choice, but due to deep-rooted circumstances. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes was born in Aguililla, Michoacán, a region long tied to illegal marijuana farming. Aguililla lies in the Tierra Caliente, a hot mountainous area spanning Michoacán and Guerrero that has served as a center for drug production and cartel activity for generations. The same region later produced groups like the Knights Templar, Los Viagras, and community self-defense efforts. When the local economy depends heavily on illicit crops and many around you are involved in trafficking, the boundary between everyday life and crime becomes very thin. El Mencho came from the Tierra Caliente area in western Michoacán. According to a 2015 U.S. Treasury Department statement, he became involved in drug trafficking in the 1990s. But that involvement built on a life already shaped by hardship from a young age. Leaving school early meant he had few opportunities for formal education or steady work. In a place known for narco-related agriculture, his path followed a difficult but predictable course. In the 1980s, like many young Mexicans, he crossed into California without authorization. He entered one of the largest illegal drug markets in the world, where he faced 2 arrests and deportations related to drugs. The time he spent in the United States carried deep irony. The same country that later devoted vast resources to pursuing him and placed a high bounty on his head also provided his early exposure to criminal operations. California during the late 1980s dealt with the crack epidemic and heroin trade. As someone without legal work options and already connected to criminal circles back home, he found not just a way to get by, but lessons in the trade. In 1994, he received a conviction in California for conspiracy to distribute heroin and served 3 years in prison. A 1989 mugshot from the San Francisco Police Department captures a young El Mencho as an undocumented resident, a striking reminder of the man who later became one of the most valuable targets in the Western Hemisphere. What occurred during his time in U.S. prison remains unclear in official records. Yet research on criminology shows that imprisonment, especially for young people from organized crime backgrounds, often strengthens rather than reforms. It builds deeper connections, shares knowledge, and teaches structures. When El Mencho left the system in the mid-1990s, he returned more experienced and better linked. After his release, he went back to Mexico and served as a police officer in Cabo Corrientes and Tomatlan in Jalisco. Consider that carefully. A person with a U.S. conviction for heroin distribution and a known criminal history was still able to join the police force. This was not just an oversight. It reflected serious issues in Mexican law enforcement during the 1990s: widespread corruption, low pay, poor training, limited background checks, and easy movement between crime groups and security roles. Many local police departments were vulnerable to infiltration. In some areas, the difference between officer and cartel member depended mainly on which side paid better at the moment. For El Mencho, the badge served as training. It gave him first-hand insight into police methods, communications, patrol patterns, informant weaknesses, and local geography, knowledge he later used against those same forces. It also provided access to equipment and power while placing him inside the system his future group would need to influence or undermine. No classroom could have offered more practical preparation. After prison and his time on parole, he remained in Mexico and worked as a police officer in Jalisco. Not long after, he joined the now-defunct Malneo cartel as an enforcer, handling security and violent operations. The shift from officer to hitman appeared smooth, showing how those roles sometimes overlapped in that era and place. El Mencho advanced step by step with patience, force, and planning. After protecting Armando Valencia Cornelio, known as El Maradona, he aligned with a faction of the Maunio cartel tied to Ignacio Coronel Villarreal Nacho Coronel, a key Sinaloa cartel figure. This group handled trafficking, finances, and enforcement for the Sinaloa cartel in Jalisco and Colima. His link to Nacho Coronel proved crucial. It placed him inside one of Mexico's most advanced criminal networks of the time, offering access to supply lines, political ties, money movement, and organizational know-how that later shaped his own group. By 2010, after Nacho Coronel's death and the arrest of Maunio leader Oscar Orlando Nava Valencia, El Lobo, the cartel divided into Los Torcidos and La Resistencia. They fought for control in Jalisco, and Los Torcidos evolved into the CJNG with El Mencho at the lead. This pattern repeats in Mexican cartel history. When top figures are removed by arrest, death, or rivals, the next level steps up. El Mencho, already seasoned in violence, connected, and proven, stood ready when the opportunity arose. He filled the space not only through drive but through timing and position. To establish itself, El Mencho's group ran a public campaign criticizing rivals for harming civilians, business owners, and officials through extortion. Los Mata Zetas prevailed in the conflict and strengthened their hold in western Mexico before renaming to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. El Mencho recognized that lasting control required more than force. It needed a story. Early messaging presented the group as defenders of regular people against the extreme actions of Los Zetas, known for severe violence against civilians. Whether fully genuine or not, the approach gained some local acceptance or at least reduced opposition. Under his direction, the CJNG pursued rapid growth across Mexico, expanded into multiple criminal activities beyond drugs, including human smuggling, theft, and extortion, and used bold, open violence that challenged the government directly. That willingness to confront the state openly set the group apart. Most crime organizations historically avoid direct clashes with authorities, favoring influence and payoffs to reduce risk. El Mencho changed that approach. In May 2015, the cartel responded to a government action with widespread roadblocks and shot down a military helicopter, killing 3 soldiers. Such an act signaled not quiet crime but a direct challenge to state power, showing advanced weapons, coordination, and willingness to engage the armed forces. The CJNG became known for extreme violence and a well-equipped, military-like setup. Under El Mencho, it introduced explosive drones and landmines, tools more common in irregular warfare than traditional trafficking. The group functioned less like a classic cartel and more like a paramilitary force with drug income, a shift that led the U.S. to label the CJNG a terrorist organization in February 2025. One striking aspect of El Mencho's operation was his near-total absence from public view. Despite the cartel's scale, authorities held only 3 photos of him. From his time as an undocumented immigrant in the U.S. for someone considered among the most influential drug figures by 2020, with reach across all 50 U.S. states and over 40 countries, 3 images reflected strict personal secrecy. Unlike others who shared flashy displays online drawing attention, he stayed hidden. He spread misinformation, built backup leadership layers, and kept even insiders uncertain of his exact location, allowing the organization to run smoothly regardless. A rare audio recording captured him warning a police commander, using the call sign Delta One, with direct threats against him and his family if officers did not stand down. It revealed a direct, intense style that instilled lasting fear in adversaries and allies alike. El Mencho saw the rising demand for synthetic drugs early. Founded in 2009, the CJNG grew quickly through online efforts and branched into fuel theft, extortion, and other schemes. Its major leap came with synthetics. The group heavily produces and moves methamphetamine and fentanyl, sourcing precursor chemicals from China and using ports for imports. Fentanyl's extreme potency means small amounts cause massive harm. CJNG Labs turn Chinese materials into product that reaches counterfeit pills in the U.S., fueling the overdose crisis. Authorities identify the Jalisco and Sinaloa groups as main suppliers of fentanyl to the United States, with the CJNG matching Sinaloa's strength and nationwide presence. This China-Mexico-U.S. chain highlights broader connections, turning a regional issue into a global one tied to thousands of annual deaths. El Mencho is linked to orders targeting Mexican politicians. In 2013, a suspect in the killing of Jalisco's tourism secretary claimed El Mencho approved it over suspected ties to rivals. The group is also connected to the 2014 murder of Congressman Gabriel Gomez Mitchell. Attacks on elected officials go beyond protecting roots. They aim to influence or control politics in controlled areas. Rather than just purchasing loyalty, the cartel removed obstacles, creating a form of shadow authority that rivals the state through force. Experts view the CJNG as a serious national security concern. Security analyst Eduardo Guerrero noted in 2021 that the group possesses vast funds, advanced weapons, paramilitary units, and vehicles, posing a major test to the government, especially in smaller cities where 50 cartel members can overpower local police. In many rural and mid-sized areas, the CJNG had effectively taken over state functions. On February 22, 2026, Mexican forces ended El Mencho's life in a targeted operation in Jalisco. The action sparked immediate retaliation by the CJNG, including roadblocks across several states. By the next day, reports noted at least 30 suspected cartel members, 25 National Guard personnel, and one civilian killed in the resulting clashes. Authorities detained over 70 people in 7 states and documented at least 85 cartel roadblocks in a single day. The swift, widespread response showed the strength of what he created. No recent cartel leader's death had prompted such rapid, organized nationwide action. It demonstrated a resilient command system built to endure leadership loss. Analyst Eduardo Guerrero stated there had never been a more powerful group than the CJNG under El Mencho, who led it to surpass others by a significant margin in a decade. The CJNG will likely continue in the short term. Large organizations like this rely on systems, finances, territory control, and planning beyond any single person. The key issue is whether his absence leads to internal splits and rivalries or a steady handoff to new leadership. Annette Idler, a global security expert at Oxford University, noted to Al Jazeera that El Mencho's death holds symbolic weight, given his role in building the CJNG into a major, internationally linked force, especially in fentanyl ties to China and cocaine networks to South America. The life of Nemesio Rubén Oseguera Cervantes stands as a symptom of broader issues, not an isolated case. From rural poverty and early dropout to undocumented migration, criminal history, improbable police hiring, and beyond, his path reflects deep challenges in Mexico's social and institutional landscape.